Reflections on Musclow, take 16. I started out, it's about some 60 kilometers of dirt road to get here. That took a while, and just before I got to the parking lot, there was a sign that said, warning, portage crossing. So, idiot, I right away thought, oh, portage crosses right here, okay. So I unloaded, I walked all my stuff across the road, about 200 meters, and it was the wrong way. So right when I went to, back towards Red Lake, so right when I went to lock up my van, I looked at they had a big board there with a map of the lake and, you know, rules and regulations and whatnot. And I looked to the side of it, and there was another trail. And right away I knew, and I was just kind of blown away, and I couldn't help but laugh. So I walked back down, got all my stuff, and walked it the other way. And that burned a couple of hours, so I couldn't get on the water that first afternoon, evening. But it worked out. There was a guy that pulled in the lot, a guy named Glenn, right after I got my last trip. I thought, man, is that a car? And sure enough, man, he's a guy in a Subaru Forester. Yeah, he was going solo too, and he was just going to spend the night in the parking lot, and it was getting dark, and I thought, man, I might as well do the same, you know. So we chatted, and we spent the next day together, which was, that was enjoyable. He's a nice guy, enjoyed meeting him. So we parted company after that, and I set up not far from what's infamously known as the Knox Lake, Knox Bog Trot. So I had some apprehensions about that, particularly since I was quadruple portaging. Most people double portage, which means they carry their gear across the land in 2 trips. And I brought a lot of stuff, man. So I thought, you know, I'm once I get past this, I'm home free. So why, you know, why push it? So I went across in 4 trips, and that was the next day, and it was a little gnarly. You know, by the 4th trip, man, I was like, okay, I've had enough of mud and, you know, up to my knees. It wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be, but about 400 yards of pretty gnarly stuff. If it was, if they had had a lot of rain, or if the mosquitoes would have been really bad, I could see we're going through there might be, you know, pretty gnarly. But I made that, and when I got to the lake, Knox Lake, it was pretty rough. But I thought, you know, I need to make tracks if I can, and I went around the entire shoreline, at every little nook and cranny, getting in, try to get to that sweet spot where the waves kind of leveled out, but not right up against the bank where the bounce back and, you know, would bounce you around a little too much. So it was touch and go, but I got around the lake, and where did I end up? I ended up at Loris Lake. Glenn told me about a campsite on a point there, which was real nice. I made it there. I had to go through a burn, and there's a big log across the burn, and it was difficult. I ended up falling, something I don't typically do. In fact, I pride myself on not biting the dust, but I fell and turtled. It was on my back, my pack, I was all stuck. So it was not a pretty picture. Now that GoPro would have come in real handy then, been a good YouTube moment. But I got to Loris Lake, and it was nice, man. Real nice campsite. I really liked it. The only drawback is around the corner from that point there's a fish camp, And in the next morning, I don't know, two motorboats motor by the point. You know, you could kind of overlook that, but it did put a little damper on the spot, I gotta admit. Otherwise, that would definitely be a destination campsite, man. It's pretty sweet. So at this rate, I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna take 5 days to get to, because I had 2 days with the wind in my face, and I thought, man, it might take. I was figuring on 3 days, 4 days tops to get here. But the next day was beautiful, calm, flat. I was able to just march right across Loris, went right through it. Then I picked up the Blood Vein River, and it's a little tricky. You had to pay attention to where you were going. I didn't have GPS. I think GPS would have been handy, but I made no miscues and made my way up through there. At one of the portage landings, I met up with a fishing party, and you know, we were kind of teasing each other back and forth a little bit. They were interested where I came from, and I kind of, you know, said, "Hey, when's shore lunch?" And they said, "Man, 20 minutes from now, up around that corner. Why don't you stop by?" I was like, "All right, you know, sounds good to me." So sure enough, I just thought it was going to be them on the side of a rock, you know, cooking up some fish. But when I got over there, there was 3 boats. They had a big setup with big propane. I mean, it was amazing. They had 3 boats and guides from Sabor Lake fishing lodge. And man, they welcomed me, and we just had awesome. It was awesome. It was a great time. Had a lot of laughs, and food was really good. And so I burned about an hour. I don't know, maybe an hour 20 minutes there, and that kind of reinvigorated me. And it was still calm, so I put the jets on, and I made some pretty good time. Went up through the Blood Vein. And I actually got here. My intention was to get to Barkley. That was my hope for goal, but I thought, man, I'm just going to keep on trucking. So I made it here, and when I got here, I went past this spot because I think it was Martin Kehoe who told me that there was a little patch of bare rock right here at the entrance where the Musclow River and Musclow Lake entered. And I think he was talking about my front porch there. And when I came by here, because he had planted the seed, when I came by here, I looked and just like, man, that looks, you know, looks pretty sketchy to base camp out of. So I thought, man, there had to be some better spots than here. But right away when I got on the lake, man, I just had bad feelings about it. It had been calm all day, and the lake was still bobbing and bouncing, nice big rollers coming in. So even though it had been calm all day, it was still bouncing. So I made my way down to the islands down there, and that's where the supposed campsites are shown on the campsite map that the Park Service provides. And I found one flat spot down there where they've got a boat cache here where the Sabor Lake comes in through here to fish, and that's where they have their shore lunch. But I wasn't worried about it because they don't come here very often. I could tell that they hadn't been used in a long time. So I kept that one in my back pocket, tried to find some of the other sites, and I didn't find squat. So I came back, it was getting dark, and I just had a bad feeling about the whole place. I didn't like my situation. I didn't like how the lake was still rough after being calm all day. I didn't like how the islands funneled that water, and man, just nice big rollers. And I'm thinking, man, if it's like this when it's calm, imagine what it's going to be like if you get a little breeze. So right away I was having misgivings and thought about checking out, getting out of here and going back to Barkley where it seemed pretty pleasant. And so I crashed there at the fish campsite, and got up in the morning, and I just, after, you know, sitting, dreaming about this place and saying, man, I can't give up this easy, you know. So I decided to make my way to the other side, the western side, which I thought at the time would be the prevailing winds. There is no such thing here. Winds come out of every direction. But at the time I thought that would be the prevailing winds, and there would be lee on that side, and at least I'd be able to get out, not be windbound. So I started to make my way back. I was going to go around the south end where it was a little bit calmer and make my way over there to the western shoreline. And I passed by this spot again, and I thought, you know, I'm going to get out and climb up here and look. And I parked the boat. The landing down there, which is where most people would probably think to park their boat, is pretty sketchy. You know, it's rough, it's jagged, it's deep. It's not a place for a boat landing, really. It's a great place to stand and fish off of, but it's not a good boat landing. So I tied my boat off and climbed up here, and I started looking around. And I paused and I kept evaluating it, and then I started to see what it could be. It was scrubby. There was a lot of logs everywhere, a lot of low hanging limbs, and it was pretty brushed in. And I think, again, Martin was talking about sitting up on that on my front porch there, where it's kind of a bare flat spot, which is not uncommon in this country as far as campsites go. If you find a place that's flat and open and you can put a tent up, that's your campsite. But that's not a place I want to spend 10 days, you know. So I started to look, and I started to see it for what it could be, and then I realized, man, I'm right here on the river. So in case it does get rough out there, I can fish the river. Plus, I can come and go as I wish. There's no chance of being windbound here. In fact, that's a great asset when you come here. If you're paddling, you get here late in the afternoon, and the lake's rocking and rolling. You know, you got to go try to find a campsite. Boom, here it is. You're right here. There's no way you're not going to be able to set up, no matter what it's doing, if you can get into the river. So I decided right then, you know, this might really work out. And I started grasping all of the inherent benefits that I could have here. And a big weight, man, it was like a big weight was off my shoulders. I was just like, oh wow, this is going to be cool, yeah. So I parked the boat. No, first I had to check out, well, you know, I need a landing. You got to have a decent landing. I mean, that's part of the game. If you're going to base camp somewhere, you got to have a nice place where you can pull up, get out, load, unload, and shove back off. So I decided to go up around the corner there, up in the lake, up in the river, and there's an excellent land. I mean, it couldn't be any better. Just a hop, skip, and a jump right over there. It's perfect. So then I got my silky saw out, and that's made the difference for the whole trip. I mean, it really has. I brought the big one, which that was also quite wise. Why not? I brought everything else, right? So I brought the big one, and I started cutting my way in here. And I spent a whole day trimming and pruning all these trees to open it up. And I kind of kept the pruning, you know, the lower half. I wanted to keep as much shade as possible. It is a little bit open here, but there is still shade in several spots throughout the campsite during the day. And I set up, and I was just so pleased, man. It's an excellent place to camp. Then the next day, I just started cleaning it up more, and then I really got involved with it. Every time I had a windbound day, I would work on this campsite, and there was a lot of logs laying about, old rotten logs, and a lot of ground clutter. And I cleaned all that stuff up. And actually, what I did with it, there's a point right here, and the wind blows up through here. On a good day when the wind's honking, big waves go up through there, and man, I just chucked this stuff out in the waves and let it go all the way to that far bank over there, along with all the other debris. There's a whole, you won't even be able to tell there's even anything put in the water, but I put quite a bit of yardage in. But it deposited all down there. It's kind of probably strewn throughout down there, and it's not going to hurt a daggone thing. So I got this area of the camp established very nicely. I mean, it just couldn't be any better, I don't think. And I kept a lot of stuff that I thought was, nice. I didn't just start hacking away at stuff. I kept stuff. You know, you don't want to just devastate. You don't want to leave a big scar. You want it to be nice. So then I kept looking into the woods, and because the woods comes right up to this rocky knob here where the camp is, and I thought, boy, wouldn't it be nice if there was some room in the woods to have some depth and open it up into the woods some where it would make the site feel bigger. Plus, you could actually look at something more than just a wall of logs and dead trees, and plus, if you want to go in there, it was just a mess. So I decided, I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna make it even better. So I spent a couple of days doing that. That was a tremendous amount of work, and I did that. That came out terrific. It's so nice in there now. You got the moss on the